The Pikmin series is a real-time strategy and puzzle game franchise that was developed and published by Nintendo. The renowned game designer Shigeru Miyamoto created it, and it was first introduced to the gaming world in 2001 with Pikmin 1 on the Nintendo GameCube. The series has been sitting in limbo for a while, so I thought it would be helpful to go over each game and explain what happens to our crew and our little plant creatures. However, I should warn you that there will be spoilers, so if you haven't played the games yet, well... In Pikmin 1, players take on the role of Captain Olimar, an astronaut from the planet Hakatate, who crashes his spaceship onto an enigmatic planet that looks strangely like ours. In the process of recovering, Olimar discovers a small plant-like creature called Pikmin and learns they are willing to follow his orders. The main objective of the game is to use these Pikmin to find and collect missing spaceship parts scattered across the planet's various regions. Olimar has to lead and command the Pikmin to fight enemies, break down obstacles, and carry items back to the spaceship. One of the critical mechanics of the game is that Olimar needs to return to his ship before the end of each day, as the planet's night creatures roam around in search of food. Also, the atmosphere is toxic to him, and Olimar can only sustain his life support for up to 30 days. So not only are the odds against you, but you have to fight for survival since you are on a limited time scale. Luckily, the Pikmin can help out Olimar defend himself and complete his mission. Players can command 3 different types of Pikmin, each with their own unique abilities that help the protagonist. The first type introduces the red Pikmin, which are resistant to fire and strong in combat. The second type is the yellow Pikmin, which are immune to electricity and can carry bomb rocks. Additionally, they can be thrown higher to difficult to reach areas. These Pikmin are easily recognizable due to their long ears. And finally, the final type of Pikmin is the blue Pikmin, and are easily distinguishable by their gills, which are often mistaken for mouths. By using the combined strengths of the different types of Pikmin, Olimar is able to collect all the necessary parts to repair his broken ship and return home. This success sets the stage for the sequel, Pikmin 2. In 2004, following the success of the first game, Pikmin 2 was released for Nintendo GameCube. The game is set immediately after Pikmin, with Olimar landing back on his home planet of Hakatate. In this sequel, Olimar's employer, Hakatate Freight, faces financial trouble due to the loss of shipment of gold pit carrots to a space rabbit, caused by another worker in the company named Louie. The company had to take out a massive loan to cover the loss. However, if you are a true fan, you know what really happened to those carrots. I'm just saying. Anyways, the situation shocks Olimar, causing him to drop the bottle cap that he brought back from the unknown planet. As fate would have it, a nearby ship reveals it to be a treasure holding significant value. As a result, the president orders both Olimar and Louie to return to the Pikmin planet and collect the treasure to repay all the debt. In Pikmin 2, players have the ability to switch between controlling Olimar or Louie, and the game no longer has a time limit as well. This allows for more open-ended exploration and gives players the freedom to take their time to fully explore the game's world. Additionally, Pikmin 2 introduces 2 new types of Pikmin. The first are the purple Pikmin, which are strong, heavy, and able to deal major damage because of their bulk. They have the ability to shake the ground, which can freeze enemies in place. 1 purple Pikmin is equivalent to 10 regular Pikmin when it comes to carrying objects, which is incredibly helpful for carrying heavier items that exceed the 100 Pikmin limit. The other new Pikmin are the white Pikmin, which are tiny, quick, and immune to poison. If eaten by an enemy, the Pikmin's toxicity damages the enemy. The white Pikmin's beady eyes are not just for show though, as they also act as a radar, helping them uncover buried treasure. Think like Venonat from the Pokemon anime. Speaking of treasure, each area in the game has a number of caves. Each cave is composed of multiple floors that of course contain treasure. A significant portion of the game is spent in these areas where Pikmin cannot be easily grown due to the absence of an onion. It's crucial to prepare ahead of time. Eventually, players work their way towards paying off Hakatate Freight's debt, after which the duo flies back to their planet. However, Olimar soon realizes that Louie, one of their crew members, has been left behind. He meets up with the president and informs him that there are still treasures left to collect. The president offers to go back to the planet instead of Louie. After collecting more treasures, the duo manages to find Louie in the Dream Den atop a Titan Dweevil, this weird looking creature right here. They save him in the process and return to planet Hakatate with all the treasures collected. And that's pretty much it for Pikmin 2. Besides, the challenge rooms, there's not that much post-content afterward. But without any lollygagging, let's move on to the next game. In 2013, the highly anticipated game Pikmin 3 was finally released for the Wii U after an extended hiatus. This installment introduced a new set of characters, Alf, Brittany, and Charlie, who came from a different planet called Kopai, unlike the original characters who hailed from planet Hecate. The story revolves around Kopai facing a severe food crisis, and the trio embarks on a mission to explore the Pikmin planet, which they named PNF-404, in search of fruit to save their world. Unfortunately, their spaceship crashes upon arrival, and they are scattered across the planet's surface. Running gags aside, the three explorers must reunite and work together to collect valuable fruit that they hope to take back to Kopai to save their people from starvation. Along the way, they encounter the adorable and loyal Pikmin creatures, who are once again willing to lend a helping hand in their journey. Pikmin 3 managed to keep the series' core mechanics intact while introducing two new types of Pikmin. The first new type is the Rock Pikmin, which are capable of breaking through crystal obstacles and dealing significant damage to enemies. Their appearance is fitting as well, as they resemble rock themselves, making them immune to crushing or stabbing attacks. When thrown, they deal a large amount of damage similar to the purple Pikmin, but without the bulk. The second new type is the Wing Pikmin, which are small, pink, and have the ability to fly. This makes them partially immune to ground hazards like bodies of water, as they simply fly over them. They can also fly over low walls, allowing them to take shortcuts when carrying items. Throughout the game, players control each of the three captains individually. This means that you can designate captains where to go in order to increase efficiency and productivity when completing missions. It's a very helpful tool if you want to beat the game. As the explorers venture further into the planet, they stumbled upon logs and messages from a familiar face, Captain Olimar, the protagonist from the previous Pikmin games. It quickly became evident that Olimar has been on this planet before, and he had left behind clues about his own journey. After following these clues, the explorers eventually stumbled upon Louis, who had crashed onto the planet himself along with Olimar. They rescued him, but things quickly took a turn for the worse. The very next day, Louis stole all their juice and tried to make a run for the Hecate ship. The explorers managed to rescue him yet again because he got into trouble, as usual, but this time he was tied up to prevent any further trouble. As they continued their journey, they learned that Captain Olimar had been sent to the planet by Hecate Frey to find more treasure. Unfortunately, Olimar had been abducted by an overprotective creature known as the Plasma Wraith, which refused to let him go. However, our three intrepid captains managed to free Olimar and escape with him, much to the creature's dismay. As they made their way back home, they brought with them the seeds of the fruit they had collected in order to secure a bountiful harvest for planet Kopai and solve its food crisis. All in all, it was an adventure full of danger and excitement, but our heroes managed to come out on top in the end. This particular entry in the Pikmin series is a departure from the previous games and features a different style of gameplay. Taking place sometime after Pikmin 3, there are no new Pikmin introduced in the spin-off game. Captain Olimar once again finds himself crash landing on an uncharted planet. My guy seriously has some serious issues when it comes to landing, it seems. Anyways, he must navigate his surroundings and gather resources to repair his spacecraft. However, the gameplay has shifted from the usual strategy game to a side-scrolling platformer style. Players must rely on their reflexes and timing to make their way through the game, rather than micromanaging a Pikmin army. In the latest installment of the Pikmin series, Olimar has lost all his Sparklium supply, which is the fuel source for his ship, the Dolphin 2. To save himself, he must once again rely on the help of Pikmin. Together, they must gather Sparklium seeds that are spread throughout the planet to power up Olimar's ship. Specifically, he needs 30,000 Sparklium to get his ship up and running again. Once all of it is collected, Olimar's ship detects the Sparklium converter, which is the one object he needs to return home. However, it is in a new sector called the Final Stretch. It is in this area that Olimar must battle against the Berserk Leech Hydro, who has a hold of the converter. After defeating the creature, it drops the ship part and then scurries away. The captain recovers the ship part and prepares to go home. At first, the Pikmin follow him, but after they realize what is happening, they stop and stare at Olimar as he is getting dumped into his ship's pod. As the ship takes off, the Pikmin all get inside the nearby Onion. The two blast off into space, but the Onion can only follow the ship up so far until it stays behind. The ship keeps going and eventually activates the warp, disappearing into the vastness of space. For the Pikmin, they must once again wait for Olimar's eventual return. The Pikmin series has come to a close for now, but hopefully with Pikmin 4, fans will hopefully once again get to embark on another amazing adventure, as I'm currently doing so right now. Hopefully this briefer, if you ever want to call it that, helps catch up to the story of the game so far. But the question is, which game do you want to play first? If you're wondering where to start with Pikmin, there are two routes you can take in order to get the best experience. If you're new to the game and you want the most up-to-date feel, I recommend starting with Pikmin 3 or 4. Pikmin 3 Deluxe on Switch comes with quality of life updates and some extra content involving Olimar and Louis. The main drawback though of this route is that you might feel a bit lost when playing through the older Pikmin games, and you might find them outdated or slow-paced. However, if you want to start from the beginning, I suggest playing Pikmin 1, more specifically the Switch version. They updated the graphics and added quality of life features to make the first game much more more bearable to play. From there, you can move on to Pikmin 2, 3, and finally 4. Lastly, I don't think it's necessary to play Hate Pikmin. You're not missing out on much anyways. The length of each game is relatively short, taking only 10 to 15 hours to beat whether you're a completionist or not. By watching this video, you have gained a solid understanding of the Pikmin series. You should feel confident about the whole entire story of Pikmin as of this moment. Now, I know I'm missing some nuances though, but that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to convince you to jump into the series without having some form of hesitation, because there's past games in there. But even then, you don't really need to worry about past games though, because Pikmin 3 is probably one of the better ones, unless you're playing 4 to begin with though. So then that's perfectly fine too also. But with that being said though, let me know if you have any insights about this video, and if I'm missing anything though, please leave it down in the comments below. But otherwise, are you buying Pikmin 4? Are you going to get into Pikmin after watching this video? Hope you guys appreciate my time coming back though, and hopefully I won't be too long away from making another video of anything though. But yeah, this is Jug signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.